And we are back. Is everyone back? I hope you're at your computers. I'm going to carry on and hope that you are. There we go. Malani's saying she's back. I just want to jump back here to my presentation. I pressed so many buttons that I closed it back down again. There we go. Share this with you. Perfect. Okay, so now we are jumping into buyers viewings, show houses, and a little bit of an overview of what a transaction actually looks like. What does it look like when we sell a house? What needs to happen, and what is kind of the pattern of things that is going to happen as you sell that property. So first things first, we are starting with how a buyer's viewing work. Now, obviously, there is so many different ways you can do this, and people are very different in their approach. So I'm going to share some things that I think is very effective and that works very well for me. And you will kind of navigate and find your way around it. I am not a huge fan of a buyer's viewing where I walk around and I tell you that this is the toilet, this is the lounge, this is the kitchen, because I assume people can see what it is. I am more focused on what is the information that I can tell you about the property whilst we're doing this. So pointing out little things. For example, if I am in the kitchen, there is a scullery, I point out the scullery. If there's no scullery, but I do have a dishwasher and a washing machine point in the kitchen, I'll point that out. So giving little details that if they see the picture, they're just seeing the room, they might not see the little details that is available there. So I am more about showing them the things or paying attention to the things that they might not pick up because they're overwhelmed with the full picture. And then also speak about the flow, the layout, and whatever facing it is for sun, for wind in the area. You kind of want to talk about that, where you get sun at what time of the day, how far or how close you are to schools, perks of the area, things that's happening there. So I'll more spend my verbal time on things like that rather than say this is this and this is that, because clearly they can see it is that. If I take them to the garage and we go through the doorway of an interlink door, I would point out whether it's automated or manual in the garage. Also little things that I don't want them to make an assumption on. I think it's important to point out. But yeah, rather than point out the obvious things, those are the things that I think is important. So let's start with the first step of the buyer. So normally what would happen is you either will have a buyer's database. When you start off, obviously you're not going to have that. It'll take you some time to build that up, and it becomes part of your CRM that we discussed in the first lesson, and we've touched on that a couple of times. But you will quickly build up, as soon as you've got listings, you'll quickly build up a buyer's database. So the important thing is that you actually take that database and make sure that you actively start using it. But the next thing is, for you to have a good database, is you want to make sure that your buyers are pre-qualified buyers. So what that means, and we did also speak about this earlier on, someone says to you, I'm a cash buyer. I see a lot of agents that almost like feel uncomfortable to get the information. Where does the cash come from? How fast before it's available? Is it in the country? Is it out of the country? Where is it coming from? Is it from a later state? There's so many things where this can come from. And you need to have those details to know whether you are doing an effective sale. Melody, if you can just hold on to that thought for me once I finish this slide, then we'll go into questions. So it's important that you find out where the funding comes from, because otherwise you're going to write the offer for a cash sale. You're going to take that offer to your seller, and your seller is going to ask you these questions. You're not going to be able to answer it. So it is important, first of all, for that. Secondly, once you've been an agent for a while, you'll either you do the things and you'll find out on the easy way, or otherwise you'll find out the hard way. Now, the hard way of finding out is you're not asking the questions and you're walking around with them every evening and weekend for 3 weeks, and then you find out that the money is coming from the road accident fund, which will still be like 2 years before that payout comes out. So asking the important questions, and it's not an interrogation, it's about how you phrase it, but getting that information and letting them understand that you need to do the paperwork for an offer accordingly, and you also need to tell your seller the clients that you are bringing through. So if you're saying you're bringing someone pre-approved, it means they bond pre-approved. If you're saying you're bringing through a cash buyer, then at least you need to have verified the cash that is coming from that cash buyer. So that would be in your first conversations that you have with a new buyer, for them to almost like have access to you and become on your database. Otherwise, it's just random people that you're touring through property. So those are important questions to ask and to verify. And you are able to send them to a bond originator that can get them a pre-approval or pre-qualification. Either or could be done. And that's free of charge. And that's something that you don't need to deal with. You just need to, we spoke about having this network and your power team around you. So bond originator is part of that power team. It's someone that you work closely with to make sure that the time that you spend is valuable time and that you are able to actually close transactions with that person. The next step for you would then be to book a viewing. So I have got, and I'll show you that once we open the floor for questions, I'll open the tab up on that. But I, for example, have got a form, like a bookings form that I would send out to my buyers. And especially if you do a new listing, like you could do a new listing in your area, and depending on which area it is, I mean, we could easily, depending on the price of the house and the area of the house, get 40 to 50 inquiries in a day or two on a new listing in specific areas. So that could become part of your database, but it also is a lot of logistics to single-handedly organize all of these appointments. So I'll show you how I have put that for myself and my team into an electronic format so that the buyer is actually in charge of scheduling those appointments. But the appointment is next, and then comes the viewing, where it gives you an opportunity to get to know that person outside of the questions you've already asked them. Ask them questions as you go around the property to understand their family needs, to understand what is important for them in a property, because the more that you learn about these things, the easier it becomes for you to take them to other properties. But if you don't ask the questions and you don't get the information, you could be taking them to a lot of properties and nothing is going to be suitable for them because you did not get their foundational information to really understand what their family needs, what they require, what their office needs are if it's commercial. So by asking questions, it allows you to get information so that you are able to narrow down the search for them and take them to things that are more appropriate. And then you always have to have a follow-up plan in place as well. So a lot of agents would do these very manual, and then they forget about the buyer and they don't follow them up, and then they've lost that client, which could have been a very good lead and a buyer lead for a buyer's mandate for them. So understanding how to take buyers' inquiries and how to kind of deal with them and put them into, I'm going to say, into a funnel where they become part of your process, part of your system, part of your CRM. It allows you to hold on to leads and to service leads, which will in effect allow you to close more deals. So it is really important that you put a good system in place. Melody, I know you had a question. You can shoot the question.
I'm sorry, it was an accidental hit. I didn't have a question.
Okay.
Surprisingly, I didn't have a question this time.
I'm going to change it. Rachel, you can ask while I'm changing the screen share here to share just what I was just talking about, so I can show you a bit more of that.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Hi, listener. Does EXP provide us with the lawyers and the bond originators that we'll have to utilize for the transaction, or do the agents need to find their own people that they would need to contract for the transaction?
That's a twofold answer. So first of all, it's important that you know that the seller always has the right to choose their attorney that they wish to use. So you at no point can tell them who they must use, but it is important that you understand the difference between a litigation attorney and a transferring attorney, because it's huge. So sometimes they might default to a litigation attorney because they know a person, because they've gone through a divorce or someone that's helped them in their business. But those litigation attorneys aren't always as well hooked in with the transferring, the deeds office, the transferring process, which then means it could take longer. So you need to get them advice on that, but it is their choice to select who they wish to use. Second question is, there is some service providers in and around EXP, but nobody is mandatory. So I have invited some people. I'm waiting for some RSVPs where I'll introduce you into a foundation of people that you can get to know and ask some questions once you start entering the industry, which will be helpful for you. But you might meet someone else along the way that gives you really good service and that gives your clients really good service. And it's important that you know you've got the freedom to use that. But as Spider-Man said, with freedom comes great responsibility. So if you are just going to handpick people and you don't really know them and you yourself don't really understand the process, you can set yourself up for trouble. So make sure that you get comfortable with everything that you know, maybe with people that were referred to you before you start wandering off and picking different people, because when you wander off, it means that you've now vouched for that person if you're going to recommend them. And one of the things I think you really need to understand about real estate, I think in most businesses, but real estate specifically, I did tell you previously that you're going to market your face, and your face is your brand, and that's what you're out there to do, is so that people can get to know who you are. But fortunately and unfortunately with that, as soon as you do a referral, that's linked to you. So I am very cautious of referrals. I would rather bite my tongue before I recommend someone, and then that recommendation comes back and bites me because they don't give the best service, or they don't do something properly, or the client's very upset with them. And because I've given that referral, automatically they link that to you and they can become upset with you. So because I work really hard to build up a reputation where my clients feel that I'm a trusted advisor for them, I am very cautious to recommend people, because I don't necessarily want to be responsible for what they do or do not do. So keep that in mind whenever you do referrals and recommendations as you navigate through the industry, because it can become difficult. I have actually worked on a surprise extra tech platform that I think before the end of this week I will showcase to you guys, but it's not available for use. It's in test phase, but that will give you a lot of extra support in that sector, and it'll make service providers in your area available to you that you can recommend through the platform, and the sellers and buyers can pick their service providers they used to work with. So even though there was a recommendation, it could be 3 or 4 that is plugged into them, and they make their final choice of who they want to work with, which also is in your best interest. So I'm going to quickly just share, first of all,
What's the name of that platform you were just mentioning that's getting developed?
It's called CLAD, CLAD.
Thank you.
There we go. I am going to show you. So I'm in the bookings platform at the moment here. Going to jump over here so I can show you this. So this is an additional platform that I've got. It's not part of the EXP software, but it's available to my team. I'm going to just go into this. So what I do here, actually I should stay here for now, and I'll show you that now. So what I do here, so you'll see there's some public available links for general meetings, and then I've got specific ones for property. So if I go into this property, I can now duplicate this form that I've created and make some small changes to it. But I love using this because it cuts down a lot on my administration and back and forth time. Firstly, by putting in the address to the listing, putting in a link to the listing, putting in the actual location to the listing, making available, depending on the size of the property, how long I want, make available the time slots that I've got that available in. And then what I would normally come in, say, for example, my sellers say to me, you know what, there's always someone available at the property on a Tuesday and on a Saturday morning. I will go and make only that available, oopsie daisy, only that available to, not bookable, not bookable, and then here I can say they can come in from 10 to 11. So say, for example, I am sitting with my sellers and they're saying to me, Liz, now we're willing to commit to these times. You never want to leave the floor open, because as soon as you start managing different properties, it can get very overwhelming. And the last thing you want to do is be at this property for a viewing, race to the next property for a viewing, come back to this property, and then tomorrow be at this property twice again, when you could have collated all of those viewings to be back to back in a specific time slot, and then tomorrow you're at another property, or later for the next hour you're at another property that's in close driving proximity, and then maybe the following evening you are in a different area, but you've got two properties there that are closer to each other. So what I do with this is I create the link that they can book, and then under advanced options, I will put in reminders that they need to get. So what I then do is I will send a link for this specific, for this specific property. So it's not open just for anyone to book. I'll share the link with them. And there's normally a little sentence and a artwork, a photo of this specific property. And that allows them to come in. Let me just show you what it would look like on the other side. I'm wondering if you can see this now. I don't know if this is jumping page with me. No, it's not. Let me just show you this one. So when I sent that link to the client for the specific times that I've made available for that property, they are able to go in, they're able to go and book themselves a slot, and it'll send them that little profile that I've put together. So in an email, it'll send them the link to the property. It'll send them the location to the property. I can't tell you how many times people will do an inquiry, and then when you book the appointment, they're like, which property is this again? Because they just did the inquiry on 10 different properties. So this kind of takes all of that out. They've got the location for the property. They've got the linked to the property, and then they've got reminders that I've set a day before, the morning of, 2 hours before, half an hour before. They get automated reminders through the system, and I don't need to worry about a no-show or someone that didn't show up for it. So this is something that we've automated that works really, really well. And then we take it one little step further. Let me show you that as well. Stop presenting. So what we have done is created a form. Let's see if this is going to go with me now. Yeah, created a purchases details form. There's so many here now. Oh, there we go. So purchases details form, and what I would do is, as soon as a buyer has gone through a property, unless they tell me, let me just see if you guys can see this now. No, you can't. I thought as much. So as soon as I've taken someone through the property, unless they tell me, did I go out now? What am I doing? Unless they tell me they are not interested in that property, I will automatically send them this link. So the reason I sent them this link is they can then fill out all of their details should they wish to make an offer on the property. So it's telling them that this is not an offer, but it is giving all of the details and the amount they wish to offer. So they fill in who's the buyers, maybe there's more than one buyer, how are they married if it's more than one buyer and they are married, how much they want to offer for the property, how are they intending to pay for this property. So a lot of the information I've got here that I can then use to prepare the offer to purchase. So it allows me, if I get several offers, to see whose offer came in first, because it'll put it through on the responses, it'll put it through on a Excel sheet, shows me the times that the offer came in, plus it gives me all of the details so that I can compile the offer. So it makes your administrative process so much faster. There's nothing worse than driving to clients, they want to make an offer, now you have to collect their IDs and get all of the information. while they're trying to have conversation with you, you have to fill all of this in and write the documents, and they kind of feel like, oh, you're taking very long, and you have to be very exact because you can't make a mistake on an offer document. So it unnecessarily is stressful and unnecessarily takes all parties' time. Whereas if you do it like this, it allows you to prepare the offer. You can either email it through to them, or you can make an appointment with them and then go sit. But then when you go sit down, your documents are prepped, everything is ready. You can walk them through everything. If I do email it through to them, I, for example, have got a short little 5-minute video that can go to buyers and sellers that explains the document to them as well, which is especially helpful for you guys when you are intern agents, because you're not allowed to explain a legal document. You're not allowed to talk through an offer to purchase. You're not allowed to talk through a mandate. So using a little video where a qualified agent is doing that, it means that you are not moving outside of the lines and the boundaries of what you're allowed to do and not allowed to do, but we can still service the client at best. So I'm a firm believer in little things that can make life a little bit easier for you as the agent. I have said this before, and I'll always be an advocate for the fact that your biggest currency is actually time. It's not money, it's the time that you trade in, because the faster you can become at doing things, the more you're able to market yourself out, the more you're able to take listings on and market those listings, which means you can get higher volume of sales. Whereas if you don't use your time as well and you're more busy with other admin tasks and things, it does cut down on the time that you do have available to actually physically make sales, close deals, and pull them through. So I'm closing this down and then just bringing our presentation back. If you've got questions, this is a good time. Melanie, go for it.
Excuse me. Good morning, everyone. Listener, I just missed the which system was this that you were referring to?
The forms and the tickets or the bookings. What are you?
Regards to the bookings, the viewings, the purchase, the detail forms, all of that. Which
Yeah, so that is
system?
it's a system that I've built on Microsoft for the team that I'm working with. So it's something that is available to everyone that I'm partnered with, but it is not something that is part of the standard paperwork.
Okay, 100%, but can we access this?
You would be able to. You can just, again, I don't want to confuse the Property Point people that are on here. So if you pop me a little message, or you don't know if you've been added to the Success Builders, all of the information is on there. Otherwise, I can just send it through to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm just moving my presentation this side so I can open it back up. And next, we are going to deal specifically with show houses. So show houses, I am a huge fan of show houses, and I'm going to tell you why. Because a lot of agents seems to not be the biggest fans of show houses when I think that they should be. And especially when you start off, show houses is your ticket to get more clients, to get more leads, to get more listings. So I'm always going to encourage new agents, experienced agents, find houses to show. So even if you take on open mandate and it's not your ideal to take on, open mandate or a mandate of another agent, you will find that in the group, that as you make friends within the EXP group, there will always be people that are willing for you to show their properties, or maybe they've got multiple. So I'm showing a property this weekend, you showing one of my other ones on the same time, and another agent showing one. And it also allows us to send clients amongst those 3 properties if they are in a similar area. But having show houses means instead of you sitting at home or in your office trying to graft online and trying to get exposure and trying to get clients, it literally physically puts you in front of the clients. It puts you in front of the buyers that are spending their time in the evening in an open house or on a Sunday afternoon for a show house, that they go out of their comfort zone, they drive to a property and they go view that property because they want to see it. And very often, they might see that property and they love that property, but they've not even put their property in the market, or they might see that property is not quite the one for them. They're still going to be searching, and they need an agent that could be their buyer's agent. So you get an opportunity to pick up clients like that. So my very first sale that I did, actually came from a show house. And that's how I picked up the value, and I kept on doing more and more and more until I built up a client base for me. None of those show houses were mine. I did not have listings, but one of the other agents that I worked with, she didn't want to do show houses. So she'd be like, Lisna, if you can put this one on show for me, Lisna, if you could be there on that Sunday, 100% I'd be there, no problem. So my first circumstances was I sat there for 3 hours. Only one couple, young couple, showed up, and I was like, oh, you kind of wish for more people that would show up, because sometimes you can get show houses and they're really busy. But that one couple that showed up, and because I wasn't pulled in any other direction, it really allowed me time to talk to them, find out what do they want, what is their ideal home, what is the must-haves and the must-not-haves, and the would be nice but don't really care. And as soon as I had that on the Sunday, that Monday, I spent so much time just calling various different agents to try and find a property that could match. A lot of agents said no to me. And that evening, the Monday evening, I took them to a property from another agency, and they wanted to buy the property, which was amazing because that other agent had it in the market for, I think, 5 or 6 months already, couldn't sell the property. I've now sold the property, and then it was in a cul-de-sac, and those clients raved about me, which is where I got my 2 next sole mandates from. Just because they spoke to all of the neighbors about the fact that I came out of nowhere and I sold this house, which was just my luck because I met this couple on the Sunday, but also my luck because I did say yes to showing the house. So my biggest message I'm going to tell you here is say yes to show houses. Find show houses. Don't wait for someone to ask you. Find people and ask them, can I show this for you? Can I put this on show for you? The more that you do that, the more you are likely to pick up with serious buyers and serious sellers that have not put their place in the market, because unless they know where they're going or what they're looking for, they're not ready to take that next step. I've actually got a little bag here that I'm going to pull closer. I normally have got a crate that's down in the garage, but I brought this one up last time. And I just want to show you this because I think thinking outside of the box with little things is also important. So for example, where's my camera now? Can you see it, Joe? So for example, this is a water bottle and it is with a branded sticker. So the same in my email signature is now on this water bottle. So I'll have them cold, and then I would normally have packets of popcorn, little sweetie pot with our branding on it as well. And the reason I normally take a sweetie is not for the adults, it's for the kids. Because if they come with kids, it's very hard to speak about the home and about the investment and about anything else when they're super busy. But if I can keep them busy with a packet of popcorn or a lollipop or whatever, it means that we get more time to talk about what it is that they want and what they're looking for while the kids are having a sweetie and playing on the lawn or doing whatever. So it's important that you think about how to make the show house, but also viewings, a more special occasion. You can even, I mean, they do so many cute things these days. You can even have like a Kit Kat bar that is completely wrapped and branded with your branding and with your stuff that you give out as you take someone onto a show house. Maybe it's in the evening, they haven't had time for dinner, they just came from work, giving them something really nice, even if it's a bottle of flavored water or a bottle of water. It's not just about the branding that you've got on there, but it's the fact that they're going to take that home with them and they're going to take the experience with them. The experience of going to your show house versus going to 3 other show houses where nobody did any effort or any trouble. So doing those little things is really going to help you not just put you in contact with those clients, but also for you to be the selected agent when they need to do business with someone, because they can see that you go the extra mile. They can see that you do the extra effort. You don't just show up there and it's just you yourself and you're showing them the house and that's the same thing they get at 5 other houses. So you always want to think about a buyer's viewing or a show house viewing as an experience. I've actually got a recording of a Canadian gentleman, Randy Dick, that did a whole session on what they do in Canada very often for show houses. So once you guys are through this training, that'll be one of the things that I'll share with you, because it really is awesome to just get some ideas and think outside of the box for when you do those show houses, because they really give you an opportunity that you can display yourself to the marketplace. You can display yourself to the neighborhood and everyone in that street. We've even got a special invite, a VIP invite, where we invite neighbors to come. The agents invite the neighbors to come an hour before the show house starts. So say, for example, your show house is from 3 to 5. You will invite all of the neighbors of that street and maybe 2 or 3 surrounding streets, where you send them a little invite that says VIP invite to come to the show house. And you just say, you've got this property on show, because they are living in a neighborhood, you'd like to invite them in so they can come and see what is in the market. There's always nosy neighbors and they love to come and look around. But the nice thing is when they come for that hour, it allows you to get one-to-one time with them. It allows you to offer them a valuation. Even if they don't want to sell, they'll know the value of the price of their house. But it gives you opportunity to connect with other people that could be your future clients, your future market. So there's so many different things around a buyer's viewing and around a show house viewing that you got to really think about, not just go through the norm. Even if that is what you see when you start shadowing an agent, I want you to not look at everything that they are doing, but look at what they are doing and what you can add to make the experience that someone will have with you more special and more memorable. So we did touch on the trusted partners. And like I said, I have asked some of them to pop in for us the week. They might not all come at the same time and the same day because everyone's programs are different. But I'm getting little pop-ins from them that I'll introduce to you and maybe give you a couple of minutes to ask some questions that related to what they do. And they'll give you like a little 5 or 10 minute explanation of what they do. And you'll get to meet some other individuals as well. But I have advocated for this from the very get-go, just to say, put people around you that can help you make your load lighter. When you've got professionals around you that understand the financial aspect, that understands the legal aspect, it allows you to focus on what your job is, which is marketing yourself and marketing properties. So you always want to surround yourself with trusted partners. Out of a lot of those trusted partner relationships, there can also be a referral income. I'm going to be naughty and show you what I thought I was not going to show you, but because we spoke about it and we're speaking about this, let me just show you it anyway, if it is going to pick up. Show you the one that's in working order. Let me quickly do this. Yeah. Okay, so this is an app that I have been working on. I'm going to go in here, and what this does is it allows me, and like I said, it's in test phase, but it allows me to keep track of a property. It allows me to dedicate what is the process of that property. So I can, for example, go add items. I've done that already. Depending on whether they've got a pool, whether they do have a gas, whether there's an electrical fence that needs a COC. So everything that they need for that specific property, I can go add. And as things are completed, I can link them to providers. So I can go in here and I can link them to a couple of different providers. And then at the same time, they can get quotes and accepted from those providers. And that will allow you to receive referral income because you are referring partners to these clients, things that they need to do anyway. But at the same time, it will cause a little progress tracking bar, which you, the buyer and the seller, can see of how far you are from transferring that property. It also allows you to put in a specific date and time for when the moving is going to take place. So it allows everyone to plan towards that date, towards that time, book their moving trucks, do everything they need to. Any property documentation can be uploaded, whether it is for the sale agreement or anything else that's going on. And they can even ask questions. You can put information on here. They can come and ask a question. The buyer can, the seller can. There's an AI that is going to answer them if it's general questions. And if it's non-general questions, then you'll answer. However, as per POPIA, they won't be seeing one another's details. So if they're not chatting in app, They can't chat. But if they chat in-app, then you also know exactly what's going on, and you're keeping record of that, plus the AI is helping you. And then in the same time, what you will ask, because you'll invite the seller, you'll invite the buyer. If there's another agent involved, you'll invite them. And then one of the duties that the seller will have will be, and there's little tips for them, they would be able to come and upload videos as to how does their security system work, when is it bin days, how does their gate remotes, what color does what, how anything, how does that work? The buyer won't be able to see that up until handover day. So on handover day, you will go complete handover, and as soon as you do, the information becomes available, because obviously there might be security codes in there and everything else. So only once they take ownership of the property can all of that be released to them, and that's kind of in your control. So that allows you to not do lots of files and lots of admin, and everyone, there's emails and there's WhatsApps and there's so much communication. This puts all of it in one folder. It tracks it, and everyone knows what's going on. Even the COCs, the providers, will come and load it up here, and even they will be able to see which of the COCs are there, what is not there yet. And then the nice thing is there's a nice little referral dashboard. So as you've referred usage of any of these service providers, there will always be a commission that is worked in for you as the referral partner. And once that service has taken place, then the money will need to be paid out to you. It's got a couple of different things where you can even put tasks in for yourself if you want to remember. So because I've put occupancy on that test property, but I can even put something else in. I can even put little reminders in that'll come through as a phone notification to my buyer or my seller. You have to go sign by the attorney. You have to please book your COC for that this week. So it's a one-stop shop for you to kind of get everyone.
This is amazing. I couldn't help myself. I just had to say, this is amazing. Are you developing this?
I am. So this is what I do when I can't sleep. But
this is amazing. It's going to be
you.
very helpful when it's up and running.
Definitely, yeah. We are testing it at the moment with a couple of agents and buyers and sellers that we know they will be patient with us, so we can run through the whole process and make sure everything runs like it should. But when I saw the referral fees, I was like, I might as well show you that. So that actually is just so that you can get your referral fee but not have all of the admin. One of the things agents do a lot is we keep on referring people left, right, and center, because someone asks you for this and you're like, okay, I heard this one has got that. So I heard this one has got that. That's what I normally said. So I won't recommend them personally, but I know of this person. So this allows you to tag 3 electricians that's close to them in their area. They can get their quotes. They can accept the one that they want to. That COC can get loaded up there, and you don't need to chase someone to get a certificate that you need before transfer. The bond originator, the attorney, everyone that's linked to the transfer would all be available on that app and on that property. So that would make our life a lot easier with those referral fees, which is really, really good for us, and obviously good for cash flow for agents to be able to receive. This allows you to have additional money to market yourself online, to market your properties. So it just opens a bit more doors for you. But it is important to understand there is very often third-party referral incomes. EXP doesn't take any part of those referral incomes. It comes straight to the agents, which in a lot of agencies is not the case. And it does become an additional stream of revenue. Then for FICA compliance, we have got a system, which is an amazing system called Encino, previously named DocFox. And you can send an invite. Someone can load all of their private documents up, and you don't need to get copies of things of their IDs and their proof of address that's floating about. They load it onto the secure system, and that will then align with the database, the South African National Database, and it'll also run a World Wide Web search on them to make sure there is nothing where their ID number was used for something else, where there's fraud on their name or their ID number, or where there could be any money laundering involved. So we do have a very good system for that, but that's something that needs to be done as well. So basically it runs You've got a buyer, you get an alert or a show house, you take a viewing through, and after that, you get the offer to purchase. Once the offer to purchase has been accepted, we've gone through that, it becomes the sales agreement. When you take a mandate, you've got to get the FICA from the seller. When you've got an offer on the table, you need to get the FICA from the buyer. So the FICA kind of plays into both parts of that. And that is the end of my presentation, because then from there on, your attorneys and your trusted partners run with everything else that they need to run with. But that gives you a good overview of so many different, I always see it as a puzzle, so many different pieces of a puzzle that needs to come together. But I think one of the things I only learned later on in real estate, and I'm such an advocate for it now, is for an agent to really understand what their job is. And that job is mainly marketing themselves and marketing properties and listings when they get them. And when they focused on that and they trust the other parties that they surround themselves with to do the jobs that they need to do, get the referral fees that they need to get from that, but then focusing on their speciality. They say if someone wants to start playing piano, if you play piano 18 minutes a day, in a year's time, you'll be better than 90% of people. So I'm going to use that same concept for you. If you learn how to market yourself and market a property, and you spend every single day on that for the next 12 months, I mean, the more that you spend on it, the better you're going to get. But that's really got to become your focus, not be distracted by all the other moving parts that happens in real estate. You can learn more about them. You will learn more about them as you go along. But the most important thing is that you remain focused on what your main job is, which is marketing yourself and marketing properties and marketing properties and marketing yourself. So that has got to become your obsession. The more obsessed you're about it, the better you will become in it, which will translate into your success in real estate. And now we're open for questions again. Makosh, go for it.
You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. I wanted to ask regarding the showings. Can you show different buyers the same property at the same time, or that is transmitted?
It can sometimes happen at a show house because people will show up at the same time. And I'm normally advocate that you don't do a show house by yourself. Like you've got someone in front that can kind of welcome them and chat to them a bit if you're in the house to walk around. It is easier. It's not a no, you can do it, but you actually want to have that bond with them. You want to have that opportunity to have a private conversation with them. You want to find out about them, and they're not going to open up when they're strangers walking around with them. They're not going to talk about their family needs, their inside out. So we like to keep it like a private viewing. Where you do see multiple viewings very often is with rental properties because it's such a high volume, and you don't really need to find out because you're not going to be walking around with tenants from one rental to the next rental. So there you would often just say this property is open for this half an hour or this hour. Anyone that shows up can come through and have a look at it. So for that scenario, about buyer viewer would be like open to all. But we are always advocating for private viewings so that you can take them through the property. You want to give them the experience of them living in that property. And it's very hard to have that experience when you're being distracted by other people and they've got other needs and they're talking about that. And then maybe they give you ideas about things that you didn't even think about that are not going to work for you, but it actually would have worked for you. So you can get a lot of negative blabber happening, and you can also get a lot of distraction when there's multiple viewings at the same time for a property to buy, unless you've got multiple agents. So what I have done in larger properties is take another agent with me, because I'm able to walk with people one direction and that other agent's able to walk another direction. So we are showing the property at the same time, but we basically just cross over from one part of the house or one area to the next. So if you're more than one agent, but for one agent to want to show multiple people at the same time, you're actually going to lose on a sale you could have closed if you do it like that.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Anyone else with anything else? Not at the moment. Okay, guys, so I'm going to send you the new, I think I did. I finished it, but I know I was waiting for Leon. Let me just see if I actually sent it because he did get back to me. No, I don't remember if I've sent it. No, I'm going to send it through to you now with the changes that I've made to the calendar. Tomorrow we won't have training. Wednesday we've got a double session again. It's a bit of a later session because I've got an office Wednesday where I'm seeing a whole group of our agents in person. If there is any of you that is close to the Belleville area, you're welcome to let me know and I'll send you the details. You can come and join us for the in-person session in the morning. We spend about 3-4 hours together, all of the agents, have a cup of coffee, network, talk about our stock, do a training session together. So that one we've got a little bit later for our session on here, and a double session again. And then we've got Thursday and Friday. So I'm just going to send through those so you can see the adjusted times. But we are back on track and we are going to be finishing by Friday. And just a reminder for those of Property Point, if you've already been on their Friday meeting, you don't have to go again. So we didn't adjust our Friday time. We're keeping it as is from 10 o'clock. And I am looking forward to seeing you all on Wednesday.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Chat
Thank you very
soon.
much, listener. Thanks, guys.
Anytime. Chat soon.